Okay, so for number 1, which has a slope of -2. Okay, so it's a negative slope. Okay, so what we're going to do, if I look at line C from left to right and line D from left to right, C and D are both positive slopes. Okay, so I want a negative slope, so I'm going to cross out options C and D. Okay, alright, so now I need a -2 over 1. Okay, so I'm down to A and B. This is -2 over 1. That's the rise, and that's the run. I need the rise to be a 2 and the run to be a 1. So first let's take a look at line B. If I see there's a point and there's a point, okay, I make a triangle out of those points. There's my rise 2 and there's my run 1. Okay, so 2 being the rise, 1 being the run. B is the one that I want. Okay. Alright, number 2 through 4. Let's take a look at number 2. What is the equation for line C? So if I take a look at line C, okay, it looks like here the y-intercept is 10. Okay, so the y-intercept here is 10. Okay, alright, so if I look at my equations, C is not going to be it. Option C is not going to be it because the y-intercept is 60. Okay, so it's not C. And it's not going to be A because the y-intercept here is +0. Okay, so I'm down to these two. Now I got to look at the slopes. Okay, is the slope 10 or is the slope 1? The y's are counting by 10s and so are the x's. Okay, so it's 10 over 10. They're counting by the same thing. So if I take a look at line C, right, if I get 2 points, the slope is 1 over 1 or 10 over 10. Okay, so 10 over 10 or 1 over 1 is just 1. So the slope that has a the equation has a slope of 1 is line B. Okay. All right, number 3, using the same graph. Which graph does not have an equation in the form y equals mx plus b? This one graphs y equals mx plus b, graphs lines. Okay, so the only graph on here that's not a line is the one that's called line A, right? Look at line A, it's a curve. Okay, so this one has a curve to it. Okay, so that's the one you want, right? It does not have an equation of y equals mx plus b. Okay, and then the last one, number 4, which graph shows a linear proportional relationship? So for a proportional relationship, right, it has to go through 0, 0. Okay, so if I look at here, the only line that goes through 0, 0, okay, is line B. Okay, line B goes through 0, 0. It's a proportional relationship. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at number 5. Number 5 says, what ordered pair represents the y-intercept of the graph? Okay, so if you missed this one, I want you to draw your x and your y. Okay, if the y-intercept is 9, way up here, okay, that's 0, 9. Okay, it's the y-intercept. The 9 has to be in the y slot. Okay, and the x slot is going to be the 0. Okay, so 5, for number 5, it's option A. Number 6, which of these statements compares the data on these graphs? And it's talking about the graphs being linear and nonlinear. So look at M. If I connect the points on M, it looks like I have a line. Okay, so this one, right, if I connect the points, it has a curve to it. Okay, alright, so that means that M is linear. N is not. Okay, linear just means the points, when you connect them, make a line. Alright, number 7, what is the slope for the data in the table? So we want the slope That's change in y over the change in x. Okay. So first, look at y. 1, 2, 3. It's getting bigger. Okay. It's getting bigger as x is getting bigger. Okay. So we know that this has to be positive. Okay. Because y is getting bigger. So we know it's not going to be option D. Okay. So now let's find the change in y over change in x. Change in y from 2 to 3 is 1. Change in x, okay, from -4 to 0, change there is 4. Okay, so there's our change in y. So our change in y is 1, so it'll be 1. Our change in x here is 4, so it's 1/4, so it's option B. Okay. All right, let's take a look at number 8. Which line has a slope of a positive 5 over 2? Okay, so we want a positive slope this time. Notice line B and line A, left to right, those are going down. This has a negative slope. This also has a negative slope. Okay, so A and B, we're going to cross out. Okay, alright, so 5 over 2, that's our rise over run out of the last two options. We want the up-down number, the rise number, to be 5. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at option C. Because if I look at option C, there's a point, and I see another point right there, right in the center. Let's go ahead and make our triangle. Look, the rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our rise, and our run is 2. Right? There's the rise, 5. There's the run, 2. Okay, so it's line C that we want. Line D ends up being 2 over 3. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to the next page. Okay, to go to the beach, it costs $3 plus $2 per dog. If you look at this right here, $2 per dog, that word per, okay, miles per hour. Okay, that is your rate. That's your slope. That's your M. Okay, that's your rate. That's your slope. That's your M. So this goes next to the X. The 2 needs to go next to the X. Okay, so it's not going to be B, and it's not going to be D because there's our slope 2 next to X, and then the initial cost is $3. Just to get in, it's $3. So it's option C. Okay, number 10. So number 10 wants the equation for line B. For line B, the y-intercept is 0. Okay, notice for line B, the y-intercept is 0. So let's look at our options. Okay, option B has a y-intercept of positive 1. It's not option B. Option D has a y-intercept of negative 1. It's not option D. It's one of these two. Okay, and line B, left to right, it's going up. Okay, so this has, for line B, this has a positive slope. Okay, C has a negative slope. Okay, so the one with a positive slope is option A. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and circle A. And it does end up being 3 over 4. Okay, up 3 over 4. Okay. Alright. Option number 11. Estimate square root of 8 to the nearest 10th. So for square root of 8, the next lowest perfect square is the square root of 4. The next highest is square root of 9. So that's 2 and 3. Okay, so it's going to be 2 point something. So we're going to cross out A, we're going to cross out D. Look how close 8 is to 9. Okay, so our options are going to be 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, or 0.9. Okay, so it's really close, so it's not going to be this one. It's not going to be 2.1. Okay, the 0.8 says it's close to the next integer. It's closer to the next integer. Number 13. Okay, so missed this one. I want you to write y equals mx plus b. There it is, y equals mx plus b. There's your m, there's your b. Okay, the slope, if it's wanting the slope, that's your m. Okay, so what's the slope? The slope is 4/3. What's the y-intercept? That's your b. Look at your b. The b is -7. Option D. Okay. Let's take a look at number 14. Okay, so here I want the change in y over the change in x. Okay, for 14. I'm going to underline my y's. Okay, so there's my y and there's my y. So I got to do the change in y, and that goes in the numerator. 10 minus 8. Okay. My denominator, the x's, is -4 minus 6. 10 minus 8 is 2. -4 minus 6 is -10. Okay, so now I have to simplify that. Okay, -2 over 10. I'm going to divide both by 2. Divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. This is a -1/5. Okay. Alright. Choose the irrational number. Okay, so there are 3 visual indicators of irrational numbers. Okay, the first one is ... The second one is pi, and then the third one is square root of an imperfect square. Okay, so let's look at option A. I don't see any of those. The line means it's repeating. Okay. I don't see any of that in B. 25 is a perfect square. Okay, you want an imperfect square. This is square root of 25 is 5, so it's not C. Okay, we see the ... right there. Okay, non-terminating, non-repeating, option D. Okay, number 16, which is a function. Okay. So I do the vertical line test, it can only hit 1 point. So look at A. If I do the vertical line test, only hits 1 point. Anywhere I do this vertical line test, only hits 1 point. For B, if I do the vertical line test, it hits more than 1 point, right? It hits there, it hits in a bunch of different places. Okay. So which graph is a function? A is the function. It only hits 1 point. There's no repeat in the x there. For every x, there's just 1 y. Okay. Number 17. Okay, a couple different ways to do this. 3 minus 5. 3 minus 5 is -2. So what you have is 4 to the -2. Okay, it's a negative exponent. We're going to rewrite that as a fraction. 1 over 4 to the +2. 4 to the +2 is 16. This is 1 over 16. The other way to look at it is there are 4 3s. There are 3 4s in the numerator. 4 times 4 times 4. There are 5 4s in the denominator. 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Each of these 4 divided by 4s is 1. Okay, so what you have left is 1 over 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, either way, you get 1 over 16. Okay. Alright, for number 18, I'm going to do one plug in an answer that doesn't work, and then plug in an answer that works. Okay. So first, let's test option D. I'm going to test the smaller numbers first. Okay. So let's do x is 6. Okay. So I'm going to put 6 into that x. 4 equals 2 times 6 plus 10 plus 12. 6 plus 10 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. And And all of this equals to 4. 32 plus 12 is 44. Okay, 44 equals to 4. I know it's not that one. Okay, let's test A. X is negative 14. So I have 4 equals 2 parentheses, negative 14 plus 10 plus 12. Okay, negative 14 plus 10 is a negative 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 12 is 4. So I get 4 equals 4. Okay, negative 14 is the one I want. Okay. Alright, so for number 19, multiplication. So I multiply the big numbers. 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35. And then I add the 3 plus 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. So 35 times 10 to the 8th. But it wants to answer in scientific notation. Okay, so I need to make this 3 into a 3.5. This became smaller. This has to become bigger. So 3.5 times 10 to the 9th. Okay, let's go on to the next one. For number 20, choose the graph for the equation. Alright, look at the y-intercept. It's negative 2. Okay, so this b equals negative 2. Okay, so the y-intercept here for A is a positive 2. It's not A. It's also a positive 2 for B. It's not B. Okay, we're down to C and D. Both of these are negative 2. The slope is negative, right? Negative 1/2. Okay, this has a positive slope. D left to right is going down. D has the negative slope that we want. Let's take a look at 21. 21, our B here is negative 3. So let's look at our options. A, the y-intercept, the B is positive 3. So is B, it's positive 3. Okay, so we're down to these two. The slope is 2 over 1. Okay, so M is 2 over 1. That's your rise over your run. Okay, so let's take a look at option C here. There's 2 points. There's 2 over 1. Okay, so there's my 2 over 1 for the rise over run. Option C. Okay. And then for number 22, x equals. This has to cross the x at 2, and then this is going to be a vertical line. Okay, so vertical line where x is 2. So look at option A. Okay, so there's the x being 2, and it's a vertical line, option A. Okay, let's go on to the back. Okay, so for 23 through 24, we had to look at this graph. What is the rate according to the graph? Okay, so it looks like here, if I use these 2 points, let's get the rise over run. Okay, the x's are counting by tens. 10, the y's are counting by tens. 10, 20, 30. Okay. The x's are counting by ones. So there's 3 boxes. Okay, so this is 30 over 3. The slope is 10. Okay. So the slope is 10, and it's kilometers per hour. So the only one where it's 10 kilometers per hour, it's option C. So choose the equation. So there's our M. The only slope here that has y equals mx plus b, that has a slope of 10, where 10 is next to the x, is option C. Y equals 10x, and the y-intercept here is 0. Okay, so y equals 10x plus 0, or y equals 10x. Okay, so let's look at 25 and 26. So you have a table. Okay, there's your X and there's your Y. Okay. Instead of X and Y, look at the options. It's H and Q. Okay. So it's H and Q. Okay. All right. So I don't like decimals. Let's go ahead and cross off the decimals. Okay. Let's find our change in Y over our change in X. Our change in Y here looks like it's from 5 to 10. It's 5. Our change in X here from 2 to 4 is 2. Okay. So our slope is 5 over 2. Right? Change in Y over change in X. Okay. So let's look at the slopes here. This says 2 over 5. It's not A. This just says the slope is 2. It's not B. Now we have to find the y-intercept. Okay. So I'm going to copy this down. 2 and 5, 4 and 10. Okay. There's our X. There's our Y. This is counting by 5s. This is counting by 2s. So let's go back the other way. If I go back the other way here, the X is 0. Go back the other here, the Y is also 0. Right? So my y-intercept, B, is 0. Y equals 5 over 2x plus 0. Okay? And so it's not going to be C, it's option D. Okay? Alright, so at 20 hours, how much water would we have? So there's our equation, y equals 5 over 2h. Okay, so a couple of different ways to do this, and I want you to write both ways. Okay, so here we have q equals 5 over 2 times h. Well, h is 20. So q equals 5 over 2 times 20 over 1. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 20 is 100. 2 times 1 is 2. 100 divided by 2, Q is going to be 50 quarts. Okay? Alright, the other way, okay, so the other way is to extend this table out. We got 2, 4, 5, and 10. Okay? So we have 2 and 4 and 5 and 10. So this is our hours and this is our quarts. Right? These are counting by 2s, so let's count by 2s. Okay, you got 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Right, we wanted it 20 hours. Let's count by 5s here. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. I think I skipped a number. Oh, I skipped 6. Okay, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So at 20 hours, we have 50 quarts. Okay, so either way you look at it, it ends up being C.